2018 Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorite games. Its absolutely incredible traversal mechanics blend seamlessly with its fantastic combat system to make you truly feel like Spider-Man. I don't think that I have ever played another game with such a perfect combination of those two things, and I absolutely love this game for its execution there. But despite how much I enjoyed that game, it wasn't until recently that I gave its standalone expansion, Miles Morales, a try, and it left me with some pretty mixed feelings. I was a little surprised by this at first, but after giving it some thought, I realized that some of the issues with the core gameplay mechanics really start to come to light in this expansion. Don't get me wrong, I still think this is a great game that a lot of folks will have fun with, but it isn't perfect, and I wanted to take some time to discuss my reasons why. But we will start off with talking about some of the good things about this game. First off, the combat is done extraordinarily well, almost perfectly, I would argue. It's so fast and fluid, and it really makes you feel like you're actually a superhero. But I do feel like this game loses a little bit of ground to its predecessor in this department. While the core gameplay mechanics remain basically the same, the way that you build power throughout the game isn't quite as satisfying. The abilities that you unlock, in my view, really start to feel like afterthoughts. It doesn't really feel like they're put in the game in a way that you really want to use them as much as you're supposed to. Most notably is the game gives you the ability to turn invisible, which I didn't find myself using almost at all. You see, like, the fun part about this game is getting up close and beating up bad guys. Like, that's what Spider-Man does. So turning invisible and like sneaking your way through everything, not really what this game's about, and it's not really that fun. This game also introduces this very confusingly named power that Miles has called Venom. And no, it's not like that Venom, like the Venom you'd think it is, and the Venom that is going to appear in the second game. So this is going to be even more confusing. It's not that Venom, it's another Venom. He has bioelectricity, where when you punch things, it zaps enemies and stuff. I didn't really find this that interesting to use, to be honest. You know, like I mentioned, the combat system in this game isn't quite as satisfying as it was in the first game, and I think this game having this over-reliance on Venom is the reason for this. Other than the invisibility stuff, it seems like the only abilities you unlock as you build power throughout the game is related to Venom. So you can like punch people harder and zap them longer and do stuff like that, where in the first game, like, you unlocked all kinds of different abilities that you could use, and this game just lacks that feeling of progression, like you're really getting stronger, because it forces you to use this really uninteresting and, again, very confusingly named ability. Now, this doesn't outright ruin the combat system in this game, but it definitely hampers it. You know, expect basically to find the combat just less endearing than you found in the first game. You know, in the first game, it's just so cool, it's fast, and you're Spider-Man, and you're punching dudes in the head and dodging, and you get to do all of that in this game too, but you don't unlock all these cool abilities as you go. So just expect that that's going to feel a little bit less satisfying than it did in the first game. By the way, I just realized that I sound like a horse's ass, so sorry about that. I don't know what's going on today, boys. I got some bullshit ass cold. The traversal mechanics in this game and in its predecessor are second to none. I have never played a game that executes this feeling of giving the player this freedom to just move around. I've never played a game that executes that concept so well. I could talk for ages about how much I love swinging around New York in this game. It is so damn fun. I mean, it's unbelievable. You'll never play another game that's like just moving around the open world is just so satisfying. Like, this game has a fast travel system. I have never used it in the first game or in this game other than when it forces you to. Because why would I when I can swing my ass over there? Because it's just fucking cool to be Spider-Man and you're swinging around doing backflips and shit. Like, it's awesome. It's like the way that your web's seamlessly attached to like actual objects when you are swinging around. It really allows you to play with the momentum. You know, like, okay, my web's going to attach to the corner of that building. So you know, like, how you're going to swing around the next building. Like, it's just so good. It feels so incredible. It brings me back to when I remember playing Spider-Man 2 on the original Xbox, and I remember that feeling really dope. I'm sure nowadays it would feel pretty crappy, but this game really makes that feeling that you would have had as a kid playing that game come to reality now, and it's perfect. And then when you get to use these awesome movement mechanics while you're in combat, beating dudes up, swinging around, launching yourself around, I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, I can say a lot. There's a lot that I have to say that's going to criticize this game, but this alone makes up for everything bad about this game because it's so fun. So, to me, the open world that this game offers is made good by one thing and one thing alone, and that is, of course, what we just talked about, the traversal. Because the traversal is so good, the open world is great. Swinging around New York, like we just mentioned, like, it's just perfect. It's awesome. It's incredible. And if it wasn't for this traversal system being so good, I am afraid to say that I think this game's open world system would be kind of lackluster. It's basically just the same old tired ass Ubisoft formula open world that we have seen a billion times in a billion different games. I will say that the scale and detail of New York is handled really well. It's pretty impressive how big the city is and how seamlessly it all comes together. It's a really awesome open world in that sense, but the objective types and the collectibles and everything, like, it's a tired formula that is only saved by the fact that swinging around to get the collectibles is a blast. Now, I actually really like the story in this game. I was expecting it to feel like it was just basically a downgrade from the first game, and it isn't quite as good as the first game, but I still really enjoyed the story in this game. I really love Miles Morales. I think he's an awesome character. I really like how it really sells you on this feeling that anyone can be Spider-Man, and I think Miles is a perfect, I don't want to call him a replacement for Peter Parker, but he's definitely a great alternative, and I really love the character that you play as in the game. I don't want to talk too much about the story because I don't want to spoil anything, but just know that, you know, it's a great story. It takes you through a lot of twists and turns, and I think it's really enjoyable, albeit it's a bit short, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. It's not quite as good as the first game, but it's definitely something that's worth playing if you enjoyed the first game. Some of the nice things are that, like, it ditches some of the bloat from the first game. You no longer need to play missions as Mary Jane, going around taking pictures of crap or doing these weird little mini games with Octavius. Like, you're not forced to do any of that anymore, and I really enjoyed that about this game. It cuts a lot of the bloat off that the first game had, but it loses some of the highlights too. So I think it balances out somewhere in the middle. The objectives in this game, frankly, just fall completely flat. They're not good. Bottom line. They're supported by so many other excellent game mechanics, like we mentioned, that, you know, it can get away with this, but it definitely takes a hit here, and it would be a much better game if the objectives weren't so repetitive and boring, frankly. So, as I touched on earlier, the game introduces Venom with Miles, and he's like electric, and he punches electricity into things, and this is a theme throughout the game, and it has a big impact on combat, like I mentioned, but it also makes the objectives really boring. You had to do a similar thing in 2018 Spider-Man where you'd shoot electric webs at stuff to solve puzzles, and in this game it's the exact same crap, except you have to punch stuff instead. And if anything, I think it feels worse in this game than it did in 2018's game. I honestly, I can't count the amount of times that I had to punch a generator to turn on the electricity somewhere. I felt like a fucking electrician. Like, it's insane. I don't understand why this game is so intent on making you use this mechanic over and over and over and over again. It's like every single mission you have to punch a generator to turn on the power or connect something, and it's just like, these are mission types that are straight out of 2005. We got to be doing better than this in the, you know, the 2020s, man. We got to be coming up with something a little better than this. And, you know, if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that I hate quick time events with a passion. Quick time events suck. I hate spamming X, spamming A, spamming the bumpers, whatever it is. It blows ass. This game has a lot of those. Unfortunately, it looks like Spider-Man 2, the next game, will also have a lot of these. I'm not thrilled about that, to say the least, and I hope that they learn their lesson for Spider-Man 3. although I doubt they will. I think it's just a shame that this game is chock full of brainless, repetitive, dumbass objective types, whether it's spamming X to do this, or shooting electricity, or punching electricity to do that. Not for me, boys. It's not for me. I'm sorry. This isn't RuneScape. I don't want to just click and just do the same thing over and over again. Not for me, boys. It's time to move on from these types of objectives. Figure it out. Hopefully Spider-Man 2 is at least a little bit better in this regard, because I'm going to start to get bored, and I don't want to get bored of being Spider-Man, okay? There's no world where being Spider-Man should be boring. It should be easy to make it fun. Just saying. The performance for this game was surprisingly problematic for me. It wasn't necessarily unplayable, but I kept running into this bug where, definitely the worst bug I ran into was when I would die, the game would crash. You know, it's just like you die, the game crashes, and I would stop my play session usually. If I died, okay, we're done playing for now, I guess, is pretty much how I would go about things. I don't know what the hell is going on with this. This game's been on PC for a while now. There's plenty of people that report this bug, and they have not fixed it. There were other bugs here and there. There was a couple, like I had a cutscene where voice lines just didn't play, which was a little awkward. But definitely the worst was the game kept crashing when I died, and that was super annoying. And I don't know what's going on with Sony. You know, this game has issues. We all know how The Last of Us was. The Last of Us was like completely broken at launch on PC. I don't even know if they fixed it, to be honest. And now the new Ratchet and Clank game just dropped, and that game has issues with crashing too. So it's unfortunate. I'm not happy to see that all these Sony ports on PC that we wait for so long are coming and they don't even work. Like, I don't know, man. It just kind of sucks, and hopefully they get that figured out, because I really like playing these games on PC. And I also wanted to touch on the value proposition this game offers people. I think it's a really fun game that most people will thoroughly enjoy if you just totally ignore how much it costs. But How Long to Beat has this game listed as a 7 to 18 hour playthrough, depending on how many side objectives you do. Me, I didn't do very many side objectives. I played through the game in 7 hours. You know, I played it, I think, how most people would play it, just kind of focusing on the story. I beat the game in 7 hours, and I spent $30-some on it. In my view, that's not a very good proposition, and that was like $20 off. This game is usually $50. Not enough there, in my opinion, for most people. If you really loved the first Spider-Man game as much as I did, buying this is probably worth your while. I think you'll enjoy it. Get it on sale for $30. I think you'll have enough fun with it that you probably be okay with spending that kind of money. But if you've never played the first Spider-Man game, I mean, just go play that game instead. And if you have played it and it was like kind of meh, probably just skip this one. I'm going to be honest, unless they, tank the price in the future down to maybe $10, then I'd probably pick it up. The bottom line for me with this game is that it's a great game that really has no right to be as fun as it is. If it wasn't for the unbelievable traversal mechanics and the awesome combat system, this new Spider-Man series in general would just suck. But because it has those two awesome mechanics going for it, it can get away with dropping the ball in all of these other areas. And fortunately for this game, Miles Morales also gets away with it. But in my view, because those mechanics exist, I can recommend this game if you get it on a good sale. Hopefully the price ends up going down, and when it does, I'd say pick it up and pick up 2018 Spider-Man. You'll have a blast. I know I do. I absolutely love playing these games, and it's just a shame that they haven't really taken any steps to evolve the game beyond just being a good beat-em-up, swinging around-ass game. Hopefully in the future we see a little bit more complex objectives, things that are a little bit more fun to figure out in the future. But for now, we'll just keep playing like Spider-Man, man, because it is really fun. But that is pretty much all I got, man. Hopefully you liked the video. It's a little bit more rambly than usual, but I really just wanted to talk about this game because it's a game that I really enjoyed playing, and I think most people would probably enjoy it as long as you can get it for the right price. But that's all I got. I think my next video is going to be the big one. Huge. It's like 2 hours. I'll get some popcorn, boys. It's going to be a good time. All right. Peace.
Pizza time.